Welcome, everybody, to Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room. Today, we got Billy Two Guns, stand-up comedian and veteran. Hey, Billy, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Hey, I can't complain, man. I'm living. So, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, man.
Okay. Um, I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I went in from '89 to '94. Uh, my first year in, Desert Storm kicked off, so I got some operational experience right away.
Yeah.
Uh, and then about a year and a half later, we opened up Somalia, so
Okay.
a little more experience.
Yeah. Yeah. When were you in Somalia?
Uh, well, from the get go, we were the first amphib group there. I was with the 13th Marine Expeditionary Unit.
Okay.
Uh, I can't remember the actual dates, but uh, I want to say we were there right at the end. Well, I would say at the end of '92, going into '93.
Okay. So,
But yeah,
where did
Mogadishu
you?
High.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we'll get into Somalia a little bit. Somalia is one of those places that made the unit I was in kind of famous. So
Okay.
when I
Yeah.
heard that, I kind of like to hear it. So where'd you grow up at?
Uh, I'm originally from Lawton, Oklahoma,
Okay,
uh, but I grew up in Lincoln, Nebraska. Lincoln's home,
okay,
but
yeah, I
I have a lot of
graduated high school there.
I have a lot of family down in Lawton still in Oklahoma itself, actually.
Okay, awesome,
What
man.
high school to?
What's that?
What high school did you go to?
Northeast.
Okay, right on,
Yeah,
right
I
on.
was I was a Rocket.
Yeah, okay, I was Lincoln East.
Okay, yeah, we were the team that everybody played for practice to beat up on to get their confidence going because we never won any games.
I tell you, there were some tough basketball and football games during my years.
Yeah, we had a decent basketball team, but yeah, the,
Yeah,
the, the years I played in high school, man, we didn't do so hot.
yeah. I was a long time ago myself. I graduated in '87, so
Oh yeah, yeah. I graduated in '94.
right on, right on.
Yeah. Yeah. So what made you decide to go down the path of the military? Did you go in right after high school or
No, I stuck around and made a mess of college for about a year and a half, but it was just something I always wanted to do. Like
Mhm.
from the time I was 3 years old, I knew I was going to be a Marine. Yeah,
Okay.
I had a. I don't know how deep you want me to get here. My biological father was a Indian outlaw. I mean,
Okay.
just as true as it can be. And I mean, like, and he was just a brutally tough man, scariest human alive. And I remember as a little boy, the only people he respected were Marines.
Really?
And I was like, I'm gonna be a Marine someday, and I would love to say it was so I could gain my father's respect, but I was like, well, I really want to kick his ass. I think that's the only one that can do it. So,
I
but yeah,
get you, man.
from,
Yeah.
from from as early as I can remember, man, I wanted to be a Marine.
Okay. Yeah. So you just went down to the recruiter and signed up and said
Yeah,
it's time.
my brother and I actually went together, like not to the recruiter together, but like the same week, we're both like, man, it's time to go. And seriously, he shocked me and surprised me because uh, I'm a little rougher around the edges than he was at the time.
Hmm.
I think we've traded places. He's the tough one now, but he he surprised me one day. He goes, "Hey, I just went and signed up, man. You going?" I'm like, "You did?" I'm like, "I'm on my way." So I ran down, signed up too.
Okay.
Um, so we were going to go on to the late entry program, and then as things worked out, we were thinking we had like 8 months before boot camp. We
Hmm.
were literally gone the following Friday.
Those recruiters don't play, boy. They tell you, "Oh yeah, it won't go long." Hey, get on the plane.
Yeah, well, I mean, they told us, "Hey, there's openings. You guys want it?" We're like, "Yep." So we jumped in.
Yeah, man. So, what'd you do in the Marines? What was your MOS?
I was a 6112 originally. Uh, I think I went to 6113. I don't really recall, but I worked on CH-46 helicopters.
Okay.
which shocked me because I was open contract, and I just assumed I was going to be a grunt, and I loved that side of the life, living in the dirt and
Yeah.
being on the side of a mountain, and I was excited about that. And there was a little bit of a mix up paperwork wise. I had a pretty serious ASVAB score, and about 2 weeks into School of Infantry, they're like, "Hey, you got to go down and talk to captain." I'm dusting my boots off best I can. And, we've been living in the dirt for several weeks now. Ran down the mountain, talked to the captain. He's like, "Hey, you're supposed to be in Memphis, Tennessee, working on helicopters." I'm like, "No, sir." I'm like, I don't know how to change a bike flat, which I do, but it's like I have no desire to be a mechanic of any sort. And
Yeah.
he's like, I was like, I didn't really have much choice. I was like, I didn't join to get out. He was like,
Right.
"Well, you need to go." The Commandant of the Marine Corps says you're going. I'm like, "All right, looks like I'm working on helicopters." And honestly, I was miserable. I couldn't believe it. I was devastated.
Yeah.
And then the payoff ended up being when we got to combat, got to be a 50 cal machine gunner.
Okay. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it all made sense. I'm like, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. So
Yeah. Yeah, man.
it was a
So
trade.
so you went to be a crew chief, and that's what we called them, the Marines, the aviation, or in the Army. It was crew
Yeah.
chiefs. Is it the same?
I didn't have the eyesight to get to go to crew chief school down in
Okay.
Pensacola. I passed all the swim calls and what have you, but I didn't have the eyesight for it. So I ended up just being a plane captain.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but
The Army, we just take them all, man. We don't care. I'm gonna tell
but
you, man.
your warrant officers get to fly. That's it's like, man, that would have been worth going
It,
after.
yeah, but
Just
at the end of the day, they were when Afghanistan and everything was going on, they needed pilots so bad they opened it up to E3s with a eyesight waiver.
yeah. Well, as our guys started, as our crew chief started, like, because we were working 18, 20-hour days, people were running out. All of a sudden, they looked at me and they're like, "Hey, you're now an aerial door gunner." It's like, Roger that. So,
Yeah,
because I kept, I mean, I had flight gear and all that.
yeah.
I'd already been flying on skins, but they're like, "Did you go through 50 cal school?" I'm like, "Yep." They're like, "Get." So, I jumped on it, and it's like from that, flying in a helicopter is my favorite thing in the world.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But I mean, I could care less about an airplane that's supposed to fly. The whole beating the air into submission and lifting off in a helicopter, the feeling I can never get over.
yeah,
So I flew as much as I possibly could. I didn't need sleep. I was
yeah,
21 years old, man. It's like I can operate on 45 minutes sleep. And
yeah,
so how and even though it's not allowed, you know how that goes.
yeah, yeah. I definitely do, man. So you where was your first duty station?
First duty station, Camp Pendleton. And then from there, when they sent me to basic helicopter school, was Millington, Tennessee.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, as much as I hated going to helicopter school, I fell in love with Memphis.
Oh, I
So
bet. Yeah,
I was so glad to be stationed out there. And it was on a Navy base, so the chow hall was amazing. It was like the
yeah.
best. At that point, that was the best food I'd ever had. So
So
I
the,
hadn't been to
the
an Air Force base yet.
the Memphis, Tennessee side is nice. When you
Yeah.
cross the bridge and go into the Memphis, Arkansas side, it's not so nice.
So I've heard.
Yeah, it's a pretty rough neighborhood.
A buddy of mine still lives down there. He's like, yeah, he's kind of he talks about it. He's like, you can go this way or you can go that way. You want to go this way?
Yeah, yeah. I was a truck driver, man, and that pilot was on the other side, or the Petro was on the other side in Arkansas, man. It's
Oh
pretty rough.
goodness,
Yeah.
I believe it. I believe it.
So,
Little Rock, huh?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, where did you actually deploy from? Is that where you deployed from? Was that the unit you was with when
San
you deployed?
Diego,
Oh, San
San
Diego.
Diego.
Okay.
I was at Marine Corps Air Station Tustin,
Mhm.
California. Then we flew from Tustin to San Diego and boarded an LPH-3, the USS for the Persian Gulf. It was USS Okinawa,
Okay.
and yeah, when we went to Somalia, we got on their sisters a sister ship, looked just like it,
Hmm.
LPH something, but that was the USS Tripoli.
Okay. So if you don't mind, we'll get into Somalia then, man. So I was with the 160th for 10 years. I know you've seen the movie Black Hawk Down. And
No,
oh, you haven't?
no, I can't.
Oh, well, that was my unit. That's who I was with.
All
That was
right
just
on.
that was
So,
before me.
were you were you with the Wasp group?
Wasp. No.
That's who relieved us.
Oh,
Like
was
we
it?
were, yeah, we were very very few numbers. There was like 300, and then like there was a 6,000 man group that came in after to
Yeah.
kind of take over. We kind of
No.
opened it up and then left it to everybody else.
Yeah,
But
no.
anyway, go ahead. I
You're good. So yeah, that was before I was in the unit. That was as
Okay.
a matter of fact, my regimental commander was shot when they were trying to rescue the pilot that was captured.
Yeah.
And that's how close it was to when I came in. But it
Okay.
was the watching that show, man, and the stories, Somalia just looked like it was no joke. What
Uh,
was what was your experiences with it, if you don't mind talking about it?
um, I think I think the hardest part for me, like when all said and done, we didn't fix anything.
Oh yeah, yeah, I see that.
And obviously you're not allowed to have a political belief in your head when you're
Right.
active duty. Um, and honestly, I don't care where you say. If you set me on the ground and say we got to go fight, I don't care what I'm completing the mission.
Right.
And so I don't really have a I don't really have an opinion one way or the other on whether it's right, wrong, or
Right.
other.
It's a
Um,
job.
I'm told what to do, I go do it.
Yep.
Uh, but I mean, like, I guess the part that really, really sticks with me is it's I think because it was so hot there and there were so many dead bodies out there when we got there.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, Stacking bodies and being on burial detail really, really messed with me for a long time.
Oh, I can
And
imagine.
and honestly, with AIDS so rampant there, and us not really knowing much about the disease in those years,
Yeah.
worrying that every mosquito bite gave you AIDS or malaria,
Yep.
wondering if it did. We're taking 300 mosquito bites a day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the stuff that stands out to me. And honestly, just I mean, it's so beyond poverty. Just seeing absolutely how
Yep.
horrible these people live
Yeah.
and feeling so bad for them. It's like we're trying to save them from the warlords, and we really don't have enough. Uh, we didn't have enough supplies or game plan to save anybody. Really, I mean,
Yeah.
in fact, we got more people killed because we dropped supplies off out in a little province called Badoa,
Hmm.
and the warlords came in. By the time we went back to supply and come back, everybody's dead, and all
Yeah.
the goods are already pilfered from, and they sabotaged everything.
Yeah.
So it's like we can't even continue. We can't even continue trying to save these people with food, water, medicine.
Yeah.
Now we get on the offensive and try and clear these guys out. So, but I can honestly say I don't ever want to be there again. But
Yeah.
if I had to do it again, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people never, you know, we I talked about this in another interview. There's a lot of people out there that they follow the news and they think they know what war's like, you know, and
Yeah.
every place, they all say, well, was it like this compared to that? You can't compare one battle to the other. You really can't, because
Wait,
the elements, the just like you said, different diseases, the poverty. You're helping people that didn't even know they needed to be helped. until, most of them probably didn't have TVs, radios, and they didn't know other people lived any other way than the way they're living. And
For
I think that's where it becomes a challenge, because you gotta one, convince people that you're there to help them that don't know that they need to be helped, and then you got to fight people that are not in a uniform. They're dressed however they want, so you don't know who's who. You know.
well, that's just it. That was a tough part, especially for my young mind at the time. I knew that people that were standing in lines for some of the supplies that we were giving uh, would be shooting at me either later that night or they did that night before.
Yeah.
They're standing in line, and I'm handing them food and water,
Yep.
and so it's like, man, it's crazy because I mean, you know, we were there as a peacekeeping force, a peacekeeping mission. It didn't turn to combat till they killed the first two, and then they yanked us out, revamped how we were going to do things, and then spent 3 weeks clearing it out before we even went back in. The Cobras and Hueys went in and just unloaded all their missiles
Wow.
in select spots, and it's like, I mean, like busted it up before we went back in there. And so, it was, you know, it's one of those things like the mission changed, and I'm happy to do either. I will gladly hand out food and water. I'll gladly fire that 50 cal.
Yep.
It,
Yeah.
I didn't have I did, it was what it was. But
Yep.
yeah, I definitely knew where the warlords were. Some of them were during, it's like, hey, they're in line getting supplies and rations.
Yeah. And let's face it, some of those people that you're fighting, they were fighting because if they didn't, they would have been killed too.
Sure.
So, and in a way that I'm sure a lot of them had the same mindset. It was what they were told to do, and they were following orders to do the best they could do without being killed.
Oh,
You
for
know.
sure. I mean, and that's just it. You know how the saying goes: we fight not because we hate who's in front of us, but we love who's back at home,
Yep.
and we have to get back to them.
Yep.
And so I've got a job to do. I know you do too, and I guess we're each going to rely on our training.
Yep. And at the end of the day, till Valhalla.
Yeah,
Hopefully it's I'll see you later versus you see me. But
yeah.
so you come back from Somalia, and then how many was it, like 3 years or so later you went to the Gulf War?
Well, no, golf was first.
Okay, Gulf was
That
first.
was 1991, and
That's right.
then
That's right.
Somalia was 92, 93.
Yep. So
So,
where were you at in um the Gulf War? Did you come from Kuwait and up? Well, you
yeah,
were you were aviation,
uh,
so
we liberated K City, but we moved a lot.
yeah.
And our group inserted and extracted SEAL teams 4, 5, and the Force Recon.
Okay.
So we had to move a lot of different areas to get those guys. Actually, a lot of our early, I mean, before Desert Storm was Desert Shield. Before Desert Shield were Desert Saber operations.
Hmm.
And so we were there for Desert Saber. We actually were the first amphib group at both conflicts. And so, I mean, just, I wouldn't call it lucky, but, we definitely were right place, right time and got called.
Yeah.
But our first 2 months up in the, like after we got past the Gulf of Oman, we were doing oil tanker stoppages and,
Okay.
inserting the SEAL teams and the Force Recon teams onto the oil tankers that were in the I don't know the proper terminology. I'll just say no fly zone that was established, and the tankers that refused to stop, we had to go stop. And I'll tell you what, that was amazing. Watching those guys are not human.
Oh
The
yeah.
the Force Recon and the SEALs,
Yeah.
it was just amazing. I'm a little bitch.
Yeah.
Those are men.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I worked with some SEALs in Bagram, and they did it for fun. But to them it was training, but it was fun. And they would get on the back of our Chinooks, and we'd fly them to the top of the mountain, and they had
Yeah,
skis. They would jump off the back with skis and then go down the side of the mountain. I mean, just watching them, I'm just like, you guys are nuts, man.
I can neither confirm nor deny seeing or witnessing any of these shenanigans. I'll tell you what, the most interesting people I ever met, besides those guys, but in a whole different way, but very similar, were the French Foreign Legion guys.
Oh, really?
Absolute animals. They're wired just like our SEALs and recon guys and your Rangers, and it's it was actually comical and fun getting to work with those guys, and because all they want to do is all they want to do is fight,
Yeah.
and they're wired 100%. Let's go, 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 go. And it was fun because like we got to know a bunch of them, a couple of their different units while we were there. They got to the point where they loved our MREs so much. We got to the point where we're like, whoa, 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 whoa! I don't know that I could trade this whole thing. Their MREs had like 2 or 3 times the amount of food ours did,
Yep.
and they had wine bottles. They had little bottles of wine in theirs. So we're like, well, I could trade this gorilla cookie for that. Like
It's
these guys
but
do it because they had unlimited supply. I mean, they're like,
yeah,
fuck it, take it, man. So
yeah.
we're trading off like here's the crazy thing. They love the fruit packet in the MRE.
Really?
Yeah, the flavored styrofoam,
Yeah.
and we're acting like that's golden, man. Like I don't know if I can partner with this, man. You guys, you get us a trash can of beer, and they're like, for sure. They bring over a trash sack with beer in it, and even get us some ice, and we're like, okay, you can have this and this. The
we was
peach.
in I was in Kandahar, and there was some French military. They were pilots, and they wanted to trade us a pallet of their MREs for a pallet of ours. And just like you said, their MREs are amazing. I mean, they had breakfast MREs, they had cheese in them. I mean, they were amazing. So
Cheese and crackers, man.
when
Like,
the
hey,
when the pallet was gone, we went back to them and we was like, "Hey, y'all want to trade another pallet?" And they were like, "No, no, no, we're good." They didn't want ours anymore. So we were back to eating our
you
vegetarian and all that other
know,
crap.
I'm pretty jealous of some of the menus that are out now because I'm like,
Yeah,
man, especially in the early training part. I mean, they got better. It expanded while I was in, but that first year, man, you were lucky to get anything besides the hamburger patty or the pork patty.
yeah. The you guys had the dark brown ones, right?
Yeah, yeah,
With the
yeah.
green eggs and ham.
Well, that came along later, but yes,
Yeah, that was
yeah, I
horrible, man.
think it was omelet. It was omelet,
Yeah,
and it's like, why is my omelet green?
yeah.
I like
So
this. I
you know,
love it.
I tell people, and they it fucked me up for a minute, but so back then, to tell if the MRE was still any good, you would look at the Tabasco sauce, and if it was turning green, you threw away the whole MRE.
Oh,
Well,
just shake it up, man. Shake it up. They make green Tabasco sauce
yeah.
now.
So when the new MREs came out and they some of them had green, the first couple I chucked because they had green. I didn't know. And people started laughing at me because I was like, dude, that MRE is bad, man. It's got the Tabasco sauce is green. But
Did
that
you
was
get
old school shit.
did you get to the point where you just shoved everything in your canteen cup, mixed it up, and just ate it like goulash?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it really is. I'm not a vegetarian, but some of the best MREs was the vegetarian MREs when the new ones came out because they
Uh-huh.
tasted just like SpaghettiOs, their ravioli and shit like
Oh
that
wow.
tasted just like it, man.
That'd be really welcome out in the field.
Oh, you ain't lying. Everybody's a vegetarian at that point because nobody wants to eat the other shit. Yeah, man. So, how long did you say you stayed over there in the Gulf War?
We were there for about a year and a half total.
Year and a half. What was so when you came back, what was your experience returning as far as the people?
I was pretty young, and so like I said, I was still trying to learn how to process. Um, I think, I had the kind of love hate relationship with the civilian world,
Yeah.
family included. Like part of me was really jealous that their biggest concern in the world was, is it going to rain on Husker on Big Red Saturday?
Yeah.
And I was jealous because they had that innocence, and I was also like, man, you guys have no clue what else is out there.
Yeah.
And that, my friends included. I was like, and I wasn't trying to be like, man, you know what I've been through. It wasn't like that. I was so happy to be. I mean, that 30 days after we got 30 days leave on the house when we got back, and I'll tell you what, that 30 days, uh, it went too fast.
Yeah. Oh, I
But
bet.
I'm so happy to be home and see my family and friends, and kind of, you have a lot of time. As you have a lot of time to think when you're over there. You think about
Yep.
mistakes made, or stuff you would do different and stuff like that. But um, I was actually very fortunate. I was treated like an absolute celebrity when I got back to Lincoln, Nebraska.
That's awesome, man.
Family, friends, my staff at Barry's Bar and Grill. I mean, they sent me a big care package over there and threw a big party for me when I got back. My brother and I both, got to come back at the same time, and he was East Coast,
Okay.
I was West Coast. He was on the 8th and I Sound Drill team,
Okay.
and I tell you, if you've never seen them, look it up. It's amazing. Those are the guys that spin the rifles and
Oh, yeah. Okay.
that,
Yeah.
but they're 0311 grunts to begin with, so they went over too. So they, the parade stopped and they were a combat unit over there. So,
Yeah.
but it was nice to come home because, one, you know, you get to those days where you really don't know if you're ever going to go home.
Yeah.
You have tomorrow,
Yep.
but you know, things obviously things worked out well. And coming home, I had a whole new respect for life and a new perspective.
Yeah. And I think that's, I'm like you, man. I'm not a very political kind of guy. I refer to myself as I'm politically homeless because, I don't really have any ties to either side. I just love America and I love our military troops. And if you're taking care of them, then I like you. And that's as far as it goes for me. But one thing that I just can't stand is when you come back, somebody who's never served, never seen how some of these people are living, trying to influence on whether we should be there or shouldn't be there. Unless you experience it, then you don't understand what evil really is.
True.
You know,
Agree.
the things that people can do, you just can't fathom. You can't wrap your head around it. And in places like that, especially in places like Somalia, where it was just ransacked for years before we even got over there. The things that was considered perfectly fine and okay, you know, would just make people go insane here if they had to see it, you know?
You think about it. I'll use Cancun as an example. A lot of folks go to Cancun.
Mm-hmm.
They see the poverty in that hour ride from the airport to the resort.
Yeah.
They forget about it as soon as they get in that resort.
Yeah.
If they lived outside the walls of the resort on the way to the resort for 2 days, they had to have a whole new respect for how people live.
Yeah.
So, but let alone several months, a year and a half.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, man. So when you went on and when did you decide to get out? How long did you stay in?
5 years. I got
5
out in
years?
'94,
Okay. So
and
did you stay in that same unit the whole time that you deployed with, or?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
I kind of figured with two deployments, that was probably a good chunk of your. I mean, you were deployed probably 80% of your military career,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. And so you got out, and then what'd you do when you got out?
Well, especially being at the unit we were in, not a lot of leave was used, so I got out early. I mean, I got all my leave was stacked up, so I
Yeah.
got out terminal leave, and honestly, I reconnected with Nebraska. with a small town. Like Lincoln's a tiny little podunk town, especially after being out in LA.
Yeah. Oh
Uh,
yeah.
wanted to get, I wanted to hunt and fish and just kind of decompress. So I literally took 30 days to do nothing but hunt and fish, and
That's awesome.
I ended up with a job that I didn't really mean to get. Uh, Working at a place called Cheerleaders over on 48th and Highway 2.
Okay.
I walked there to get some lunch and a beer, and the people were like, "Hey, you want a job?" I had worked in bars, since I was 17. So I was
Mhm.
like, "Not really." They talked me into it. I ended up working there. So I was just kind of bartending at night, and I'd fish. I'd get off work and go straight to my catfish hole. And
Yeah.
so I just kind of did that for the first 30 days, and then I looked into corrections and got hired on with corrections, and went to the corrections academy. Total disappointment. Holy
Yeah.
smoke! I thought we were going to be going to the prison where there's 3 tiers up, toilet paper raining down on you on fire, you know,
Yeah.
riots. Man, I was so disappointed when I got there. It was like a little catechism class. I was kind of used to the hustle and bustle.
Yeah. Did you didn't work at the state pen out there? Is that where you ended up working or?
Where I started out,
Yeah.
and I moved over to the Diagnostic Evaluation Center, and then again to LCC, Lincoln Correctional Center.
Okay.
I spent 8 years in corrections. My last
Okay.
5.5 were as a sergeant, so
Okay.
it was interesting. I liked it
Yeah.
for the.
Yeah. I had a buddy that when I retired, he wanted me to go work out there at the federal prison in Georgia with him, and I just kept trying to tell him, man, I've seen so much shitty shit in my 20 years. I just don't care to see any more of it. I want to do something where I don't have to look negative at people when I'm looking across at them.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and especially a prison like that because when they get out, a lot of them are in that area because they're from that area, and they get out and you still see them,
You're
and you're like,
gonna
oh
run
yeah,
into them, you
yeah,
know. Well, that's what happens with this little cow town, And
oh yeah,
honestly, I didn't look at it that way because I've only had one negative interaction with somebody who got out, and it wasn't even somebody I worked with. That I was a guard where he was. He just knew I was an officer, and just
mhm,
had a lot of hate. Sent a couple boys in to rough me up in the bathroom one day.
really,
Out, yeah, right there at cheerleaders where I worked, which I came through it just fine. But I never had any problems. Usually when I run into somebody that gets out, they buy me a beer,
yeah,
or we talk to, we sit down and talk and shake hands and everything. But I was fair. I was by the book
yeah,
and I was strict, but I was fair. And honestly, the the way I looked at corrections was there's a whole pool of people here, employee wise, that are willing to be average and mediocre, and I'm not. So I promoted very quickly, and
yeah,
it's like, man, this is easy to, this is kind of easy actually, because I'm used to being around 100% go getters, and it's like,
yep,
yeah, you guys are marking time, man. I'm marching. So
yep, and that's exactly what I've found with the civilian world too. I mean, and that's everywhere. The type A personality is not the majority anymore. You walk away from the military, and now you're that type A personality, man, rises so much farther above a lot of the other people because just like you said, they're content. I don't want to do any more and I don't want to do any less. This is what I'm gonna do. You know?
exactly.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, man. So you're doing stand-up comedy?
Yeah. I've been fascinated with comedy my whole life. Like back when there was a blockbuster, or in
Yeah.
years before that, on weekends, man, I used to go rent 4 or 5 tapes of comedians and just watch all of
Yeah.
it. Always loved it, and I was always fascinated by it. But I was also I couldn't believe these guys could come up with these funny things to say. I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because it was just always something like, man, I wish I could do that one time in my life. Turns
Yeah.
out a friend of mine did a stand up open mic down in Florida while he was on vacation because his reasoning was, well, if they boo me off stage, I'm never going to see these people again. My,
Makes sense.
so it never even occurred to me to ever go to an open mic and try. I just one of those, man, it's a bucket list, which
Yeah.
I had no intention of ever going after. And then as turned out, there when he came back, he enjoyed it so much. He came back to Lincoln and found an open mic and said, "Hey, I'm going to be at this open mic downtown." So we ran down to support him,
Hmm.
and I just made the comment, "Man, I always wanted to try that." And he's after he was done, he's like, "Dude, you should write something up and get up there. They're going to do it again next week." I'm like, "Huh." So I couldn't quit thinking about it, and
Yeah.
then I told my wife, you know, man, I want to try that. She was shocked. She's like, "What?" Because
That's
I'm
what
not
I, yeah, that's the way I am, man. I love to joke around, but I don't have the balls to get up there on the stage. So
funny.
my hat's off to you, man, for doing it.
So it just turned out, I was like, I mean, I boxed and I did MMA for a long time, and that's what people really kind of, that's what they associate me with.
Really?
And when people hear that I I do stand up now, they're shocked. It's like because if you knew me back then, you don't know me now, and
Yeah.
kind of vice versa. If you know me now, you didn't know me back then. But I was a little rough around the edges back in my day. But I'll tell you what, comedy is so much fun. I just all when I sit and write, I develop a. What's funny is I get a lot of my ideas from my wife. She's like, "Oh, this would be a funny bit," and some of them stick, and I develop them into a story. And
Yeah.
my stuff is more or less stories of growing up and just what I relate with. And so
Hmm.
I just find a spin to add to it. And I'll tell you what, it's been an absolute blast.
That's awesome, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, so my last interview that I did last week was with a Marine stand-up comedian. His name is Brandon Johnston. So tonight at 8:30 on my page, I'm gonna live stream our video, and yeah, he was just absolutely hilarious, and part of his story was, it was it became therapy for him. It was an outlet in a positive manner,
I can
so
see.
it,
Here, it's weird because everybody has their own reason of why they want to do it, or if
mhm,
if they're doing it. And honestly, for me, the idea of being able to make a stranger laugh at least one time
yeah,
just appealed to me. I was like, man, that's I would love to be able to do that. Just because I watched how my mom laughed when we would sit and watch the stand-up comedian tapes when I was in high school, and
yeah,
before I left the Marine Corps, because she was she was as much into it as I was.
mhm,
And to watch my mom just crack up over stuff, I'm like, I'd love to be able to make somebody laugh like that. And
yeah,
I'll say it's intoxicating when you have a room full of strangers and you go out and just babble your stuff and hear these people laughing their asses off. It's amazing.
yeah.
I
I
age
think
it's an adrenaline dump.
he said the same thing. He said the exact same thing, man. And he kind of put it as, and I never thought about it like this, but he put it like it's a conversation that's happening between him and the audience, right?
For sure.
And it makes sense why so many people relate to comedians more than they do, say, a musician or something like that. There's a lot of people that like the music, but you look at how many people when uh, what's it, Robin Williams passed away. People were relentlessly sad. You know,
Devastating.
yeah, they were. I mean, but you think about how much the crowd interacts with that comedian. It becomes personal.
Oh,
You
for
know,
sure.
and there's difference. There's still always that disconnect between a musician and its crowd. They may feel something from the music that's bringing them back to their memory, but it's not personal like it is with a comedian, you know.
Yeah.
So it makes complete sense how it make people feel like, especially veterans, you know, because you think about all this time that you spend in your little circles before formations, after formations,
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
just telling jokes and you know, obviously it's a different type of humor than what a lot of civilians would get, but
Yeah.
it's the same concept, you know.
That's one of the biggest things I hear from my wife. Because she wasn't with me during the Marine Corps years.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, but she has definitely embraced the veteran community and understands that you know the bigger asshole you are to somebody, that means that's the closer they are to you.
Yeah,
She gets that, she gets that part.
yeah,
She's like, okay, you guys uh talk shit to each other's face and then say good things behind each other's back.
yeah.
So that's I can tell how close you guys are. My best friend, I swear to God, I hate him every day. And she's like, you love him. you know, like, man, yeah, because he gets it, I get it. It's like
Yep.
we have a fraternity that not a lot of people in this world will ever understand or get to do.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but
You're
I've met you, and here I was so glad to be able to come sit down and talk to you.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely, man. And that's, you know, so my thing's podcasting. I love doing podcasts. You know, I probably do on average 3 to 4 interviews a week, you know.
yeah,
And I'm thankful for every single one of them because, you know, some of them I get to tell a little bit of my story and I get a lot of their story and it just makes me realize, you know, sometimes I can relate because I've been there. Sometimes I'm learning all new stuff like today, you know. So I love it, man.
glad I got to be a part of it, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a an awesome experience, and it's the way that, you know. So we started this show to get more involved in the veteran community. There used to be two of us. My old first sergeant used to be a part. That's why it was two drunk dudes, and we used to do the show from his gun room. You know, he owned a little gun business,
That
and
is the name for a podcast
yeah,
ever.
yeah, I love it, man. But it's a double-edged sword. You know, sometimes when you're dealing with people, it's not from the military. You know, I get a lot of slack because of the name, but that's all right. Um, but yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
pick
where the
that up.
name came from, and you know, we just all we try to do is just be a hub, man. You know, and one thing led to another. This is our second year of doing it, and now you know, I'm trying for the first time. We're trying to get a total of like 5 events throughout the year. You know, before it was usually about 2 or 3. I'm trying to take 10 to 15 veterans to a Chiefs game, a Cardinals baseball game, a Blues hockey game, and maybe even to the NASCAR event that's going to be going on up there in St. Louis.
Oh
You
wow.
know, so I'm looking for sponsors for that, and if we pull it off, that'll be great. You know, but we'll definitely be doing our fish gigging trip for veterans again this year. That's already been set up. So in October, you know, and that's just a great time. You know, absolutely love it.
And
And you know, and then the latest project that we're working on, it hasn't gone officially live, but it's up and running and it's live. Is I started the gunroom radio. So, you know, my thought process for that was when I got into podcasting, you know, I knew when you leave the military, you learn real quick how small of a fish you become. You know,
yeah,
because it's a different world on the other side of those walls. You know, you feel like you are somebody. Once you transition out, that feeling quickly goes away, you know, and
yeah,
you just become another person. Well, then when you get into podcasting, and it is kind of type A personality in a sense, because everybody's fighting for airtime and views and whatever, you know. And I was like, man, you know, the veteran community is so damn small. You know, how do we get our word out and get in front of people without being, you know, just obliviated by something that I find to be stupid. I mean, literally, you know, there's a person that's got more views by like 10,000% more than me, and he's called the sleeping streamer. He turns his camera on and goes to bed. and
Oh my
people
goodness.
and people sit there and watch him sleep. And
What?
he has like 30,000 followers on YouTube.
Wow.
And I'm like, I am like fighting to get to 100, you know? And I'm like, I just don't get it. So I created this for veterans to put their content on, you know, and I wanted two channels. I wanted a comedy music channel, an entertainment type, and a
Yeah.
talk radio type, you know. And it's coming along. You know, I'm slowly getting more podcasters and more musicians and stuff to allow me to put their content on there. You know, I'm not, it's not a for cost anything. It's free for viewers and it's free for people to put their stuff on. It's just another outlet to get people to hear veterans. And that's the only intent behind it is to hear veteran stories. And, you know, since I started that, man, I've met some really cool people, you know. Scotty Hastings is coming up there to Hero Stock. I'll be coming up to Hero Stock. I'm going to help stream it. And, man, you know, all these people, these networks that I've never met. What's that?
I kind of retired after doing the Baton Death March Marathon with my friend. We did 5 of them down in New Mexico. And so I kind of retired because doing ruck marches around here, I'm just like, I'm like, man, I kind of feel like I cheapened my brand on, you know, and but that's not, I mean, that's a horrible way to put it. But I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
So I was just, I'm retired. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And now
I don't do any ruck march. Nope.
the same dude who got me involved in that's like, hey, there's a half marathon June 29th. You in? I'm cussing him a blue streak. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. And so now he's making noise like, you and me, let's go do one more down in New Mexico. I'm like, I made up new cuss words telling them no, but
Yeah.
I know as soon as we get done with this one, we're going to start making plans. So
Yeah.
I think I
Hey,
got one more.
are you talking about Scott?
No, no, no. Actually, Scott kind of does some of the local little stuff.
Yeah.
My best friend and I, we did the Baton Death March Marathon down in New Mexico, which is the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah. I seen pictures of it. There's no way.
That is brutal.
Isn't it
You
like
know,
it's like 26 miles or something like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
26.2. Uh, hills, sand, and elevation.
Yeah.
You know, you're at 23. What was it? I want to say 2,300 feet elevation getting to the base, and the race takes you up another 5,000.
Whew.
And then mile 20 is a mile long sand pit. I mean, like after you get your ass kicked all day, mile 20 is what breaks people.
Oh, I
And
bet.
so I have friends that they do the local rucks around here, and I'm proud of them because anything over 2 miles sucks, right?
Yeah.
So these guys did 26.2 on a virtual here, but they're wearing their Baton t-shirts because it was a Baton virtual, and I'm like, ooh, you know, if you're gonna wear that shirt, you should go down to New Mexico, and because if you haven't gone to New Mexico to do it, you
Yeah.
haven't done,
Yeah.
you have not, because I'm telling you, the first 6 miles there is rougher than 17 here.
Yeah.
Flat, flat
Yeah.
Lincoln, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to come up there for Hero Stock for the concert and entertainment side. I'm not going to go up there. I'm not doing the ruck march with Scott.
I hear you.
I told him
Well,
I'm shaped like a rucksack. I can't be doing
if you if you need an assistant, maybe I'll do that side.
that. Sounds good, man. We'll set up some cameras and drink some beer and watch the band.
See, like the dude sleeping, we can just set a camera on us, see, have people tune in to watch us drink beer.
That's that's it. We got the new show, man. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I can't wait. Scotty, they booked Scotty. I guess he was on my show, and then Jason seen him, and somehow offline they hooked up, and he booked him for Hero Stock. So it's like now it's like four bands or something that's going to be there. But
Yeah,
Scotty Hastings, man, is great music, man.
that's
He
awesome.
was he was in Afghanistan, wounded veteran, was shot like 10 times, and
Wow.
lived through it. And now he's an ambassador for Guitars for Vets and tells his story, man. So
Yeah. Well, he may have gotten shot 10 times, but I didn't load the dishwasher properly once.
Oh shit. That's like getting the famous I don't care what you do, do whatever you want. You're like, yeah, no, I'm never mind. I'm not going. Yeah. No.
Anybody can get shot 10 times. Purposely don't load the dishwasher properly and you let your wife come home.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna go with the 10 times, man.
That's dangerous living, man. Like the adrenaline junkie.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right, man. Yes,
It's so
sir.
funny. I'm so lucky because no, my wife is actually awesome. She'll rearrange stuff, but I don't have to pay the price.
Yeah.
So I talk like that on stage. She's like, "Who are you even talking about?" She gets ready in 10 minutes. I can't even do the hour long to get ready jokes.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Man, you're lucky.
yeah, all right. Or like like on Saturday, she's like, "You ready for a drink?" I'm like, "Not yet." You gonna be a pussy all day?
Man, we need to have your wife on the show.
I got a gold mine. I know, gold mine.
You know how many guys would be sitting here going, man, I'm jealous. What went wrong? I can't. I want to drink at 11. You're not going to make me one of those?
Yeah, well, if it's 11 o'clock kickoff, drinking starts at 9. I'm not even up yet. She wakes me up. It's time to have a drink. We got to get downtown. That was fantastic.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. How long y'all been married?
7 years.
Okay, awesome,
We were
man.
friends since we were 17 years old in high school, just never dated
Yeah.
until our paths crossed after we were both coming off really rough relationships and we both were done. I'm like, I'm single the rest of my life. I don't need this. She
Yeah.
was kind of the same way. We ended up going to a cookout together just as buddies and didn't quit hanging out since.
Yeah. That's awesome. I met my wife at Mickle Junior High there in Lincoln,
Oh goodness.
Nebraska. Yeah.
Uh,
So we started dating in the summer of seventh grade, going into eighth grade, and got married in '94. And I've visited her every once in a while since then. So, the 20 years I was gone, I did 68 months deployed. And that doesn't even count all the damn Korea. I did a year in Korea without her, 15 months in Qatar. I was probably a good half of my career was spent away from her.
yeah, I know that's why my stepdad got out because he was looking at a 3-year tour in Korea unaccompanied, and my little brother which was his first biological child, was on his way. And so he resigned his commission and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not going to Korea scene. But he goes,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful country. I'd love to see it, but not
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
years, not missing the first 3 years of his first child's life.
Yeah. And so we didn't have no kids yet, and we wanted to. And man, I went, basic training, AIT, and then I went to recovery school, and then I went straight to Korea. So I was away from my wife for seemed like forever. I remember
Yeah.
one day telling my platoon sergeant, I said, "Hey, can I get one of those oil sample bottles?" He said, "Why?" I said, "Because I'm going to send some jizz home. We're trying to have kids, but y'all won't never let me be around her." Yeah, man.
My brother would have said, hey, tell her to find a good looking neighbor.
My son doesn't quite look like me.
Yeah. If I had like a redhead, I'd be like, oh shit, what happened?
Yes, sir, man.
My daughter's spitting him, but there's no DNA test needed there.
Yeah, same with my son and my daughter, man. They look just like me too. Yeah, man. Well, brother, this has been a good time, man. I
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on.
Uh,
Where if people wanted to see you perform or follow you on your do you have a web page or
no, not really. I mean, I have an Instagram, but I don't do much on it. But
okay.
it's Bill Deekman on Facebook, and it'll say Billy Two Guns on there.
Okay.
But that's where I post my upcoming shows. right now I don't have anything scheduled, but I have a couple things in the works that I kind of got to keep my cards close to my chest for now.
Okay, that's awesome, brother. Well,
But it's coming.
that's awesome, and we'll be following you, and I will share the shit
Good.
out of everything you put on Facebook. Um,
Uh,
I will also share all the links to so where this is going to go. It's going to go onto our audio podcast, so it'll be played on
okay.
Spotify, Pandora,
Awesome.
Amazon, everywhere. I mean, anywhere that you can listen to a podcast, it's there. And that'll come out on a Wednesday. I'll get you the date. I don't know exactly what date it is. And then on that following Friday, and I'll share the event with you. I'll create an event and I'll live stream this video that we just
Okay.
did. And I'll invite you into it, and you're more than welcome to interact with the people in the chat room. That's when I grab a few drinks, and that's why I don't get on the stream. I just replay the video so I can interact in the chat room and talk shit and everything
That's
else, you know. And
that's
then
outstanding.
yeah, man. And then I'll also share the YouTube videos when I get it up on YouTube and everything else. So man, you're more than welcome to use the links however you want.
All right,
Um,
sounds good.
yeah, man. So
I'm gonna speak with a couple people and get some of my material chopped up into little segments because I don't do that stuff.
yeah, yeah.
But uh, put it out there a little bit more because over the next year I'm gonna get a lot more active about putting my own shows together
Okay.
and getting more aggressive about it. Because honestly, I was at a point where I could step away from it or continue, and my
Mhm.
last two shows were so amazing. I'm like, I got to keep doing this. So
Yeah, man.
I'm
Absolutely. You know,
I'm gonna
and
I'm gonna expand my label a little bit.
well, that's awesome, brother. Hey, if you ever get to the point where you want to do a comedy show and you want me to put it on that radio channel, or if you want to create a weekly or monthly comedy talk show, whatever, if I can help you, brother, you just let me know. All right.
Hey, I
And
appreciate
I'll
it, man.
do it.
Sounds
So,
awesome.
yep. And you need to come to Hero Stock and hang out so we can have a couple beers together, man. I can shake your hand.
Absolutely, count
All
on
right.
it.
All right, brother. Well, you take care.
All right, take care now.
Bye bye.